Bonjour à tous et bienvenue pour cette nouvelle conférence de la Chambre britannique, une conférence qui porte sur un sujet plus que jamais d'actualité. Il s'agit du Brexit. Cela fait déjà plusieurs mois que le Royaume-Uni a officiellement quitté, vous le savez, l'Union européenne. Quel impact, quelles conséquences, quels défis, quelles opportunités? C'est tout cela que nous allons voir ce soir avec un panel d'exception que je vais laisser le plaisir de présenter par le président de la Chambre britannique de commerce, Monsieur Stéphane Orr, qui est avec nous. Bonsoir Stéphane Orr.
Bonsoir Landry, bonsoir à tout le monde. Dear members, je vais parler en anglais ce soir. Normalement, on parle en français, mais ce soir, c'est un webinaire de Brexit. So, je pense qu'on va voir les gens qui vont entendre sur le côté Royaume-Uni. So, ce soir, je vais prendre l'opportunité pour parler un peu en anglais. Mais je suis sûr et certain, les autres, ils peuvent parler français et anglais comme ils veulent. So, dear members, dear speakers, ladies and gentlemen, greetings. Welcome and delighted to have you with us for this new British Un webinar entitled Post-Brexit, 1 year later, first assessment. On January the 1st, the UK officially left the European Union after 47 years. After 5 years of negotiations, a post-Brexit trade agreement between the European Union and the United Kingdom was concluded at the last minute, just a few days before. Morocco and the United Kingdom had already signed on their side an association agreement to continue their trade. Several ministerial visits had taken place in 2019 to be able to reach this agreement between the two kingdoms. Now, almost a year later, what is the first assessment to be drawn from Brexit? If the UK expects growth of 6.5% this year because of the COVID crisis, what are the new priorities for the UK government? What challenges and opportunities have emerged after this first year of Brexit? That is what we're going to hear tonight with our exceptional panel. His Excellency Alistair Long, Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa, will be with us shortly. We will see with him how Brexit changed the priorities and objectives in terms of trade and investment, but also what were the main challenges encountered during the crisis. A warm thanks to His Excellency Simon Martin, Ambassador of Her Britannic Majesty to Morocco, for being with us this evening. We will see what is the first assessment regarding the relations and exchanges between Morocco and the United Kingdom post-Brexit, and if revisions or modifications are to be made to the Morocco-United Kingdom Association Agreement close to a year after its application. Also, you'll tell us what are the main cooperation projects to come in the coming years. And finally, I would like to thank Madame Wafa Settar, Director of the Strategy and Communication Department of Mardi, the Moroccan Agency for the Development of Investments and Exports. You can tell us about the positioning of Morocco as a hub for Africa with its new brand, Morocco Now. And you will also tell us what are the main sectors where we need to strengthen the relationship between Morocco and the United Kingdom. As always, this webinar is for you, so don't hesitate to ask your questions. And before giving the floor back to the moderator, Landry Benoit, I would like to thank our partners, OCP Group, Spirit Aerosystems, Bank of Africa, Maroclear, Consumer, and the CIH Bank. So I wish everyone a good webinar, and over to you, Landry.
Merci beaucoup Stéphane Orr, président de la British Un. On est donc ensemble pour un peu plus d'1h30. Merci à tous de nous être fidèles encore une fois. Et je vous le disais, donc un panel d'exception. Le président de la British Un vient de nous le présenter. Nous avons son Excellence Simon Martin avec nous. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir Landry, bonsoir à tous et à toutes. Et c'est un plaisir d'être parmi vous encore une fois.
Un plaisir également de vous retrouver, ambassadeur bien sûr du Royaume-Uni. On va voir avec vous dans quelques instants eh bien, quel bilan vous faites justement de cette ère post-Brexit qui vient de débuter. Quel bilan également de la relation Maroc-Royaume-Uni depuis que l'accord d'association est entré en vigueur depuis le 1er janvier dernier, et puis quelles perspectives d'avenir entre nos deux royaumes. Nous aurons également plaisir d'accueillir un peu plus tard dans ce webinaire le délégué commercial de Sa Majesté britannique pour l'Afrique, Alistair Long, qui nous parlera eh bien, des priorités pour le gouvernement britannique en matière d'investissement et de commerce dans cette ère post-Brexit, post-Covid également. Quelle est la place stratégique qu'occupe le Maroc pour le Royaume-Uni dans les prochaines années? Et puis nous avons une représentante du Maroc avec nous ce soir, en la personne de Wafa Settar, qui est la directrice du pôle stratégique et communication de l'AMDE, l'agence marocaine du développement des investissements et des exportations. Bonsoir Madame Wafa Settar.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Laudry-Benoît, Monsieur l'ambassadeur, Votre Excellence, merci de nous honorer de votre présence. Messieurs et Mesdames, les membres de l'abri de Cham, Monsieur le Président, Stephen Orr, que nous connaissons très bien à l'AMDE aussi. Bonsoir à tous et ravi de faire partie de cette discussion que j'espère fructueuse.
Plaisir partagé. On vous retrouvera donc dans quelques instants, juste après l'intervention de notre ambassadeur, pour parler eh bien justement du rôle de votre agence. Il y a une marque Maroc-Royaume-Uni qui vient d'être lancée, on va en parler bien évidemment. Comment finalement le Maroc se positionne en tant que hub africain aujourd'hui dans cette ère post-Brexit, et puis quel secteur on peut travailler, renforcer ensemble du côté du Royaume du Maroc et du Royaume-Uni. Mais d'abord, pour commencer, eh bien, nous allons débuter avec l'ambassadeur du Royaume-Uni, son Excellence Simon Martin. D'abord, Simon Martin, si on devait faire un premier bilan des relations et des échanges entre le Maroc et le Royaume-Uni dans cette ère post-Brexit qui vient de commencer, quel premier bilan vous en feriez, vous?
Donc, merci infiniment, Landry. Et je dois admettre d'être un peu confus. J'avais attendu de parler en français, mais après l'intervention de notre président, it seems that maybe I would be better at speaking in English. Is that right, Stephen?
No problem.
We'll make it your choice, but I do believe we'll have quite a few people listening, and hopefully in the United Kingdom as well. So,
okay, well, I am your ambassador, my friends, in the United Kingdom. So, if that's okay, then I will translate my notes back into English. So, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Landry, for being our host again. Thank you, Madame Settar, for joining us. As we will hear later on, Andy is a very, very key partner in the creation of a new dynamism in the UK-Morocco relationship. So, in answer to your question about the first assessment of relations and exchanges between our two countries in the first year since the UK left the European Union, I would say two things. One is that it appears to have given us a spring in our step. Il paraît d'avoir rendu le pas plus léger in our bilateral relationship. Now, of course, the pandemic has meant that we haven't had the extent of exchanges that we would have hoped for. During the first 6 months of this year, we had no travel between our two countries. I'm afraid the situation has returned so that we don't have any direct flights anymore. But fear not, anyone in the UK, it is still very easy to access the UK from the UK to Morocco, flying via a third country, provided that you've been vaccinated. So, but it does mean that the level of expansion in our relationship, which we would otherwise have hoped for, is still in creation. But there are plenty of signs of it, and that's what I'm really keen to get across at the moment. Now, we have got, just to start off, before moving on to the economic sphere, Landry, we have got really remarkable ongoing collaboration in the security field. And this is not just in counterterrorism and counter-extremism and so on, which has always been a very important aspect. We have to remember that Morocco, before the pandemic arrived, was aspiring to welcome 1 million British visitors in 2020. That would have been an increase of around about 30% on the previous year, and was a reasonable expectation on the part of the Office National Marocain du Tourisme. This is a really, really important aspect of our relationship, and with it, it will build increasing familiarity between our two countries, and of course, therefore, the cooperation in the safety of our visitors is really, really important in terms of aviation security and in other measures. So I wanted to stress that because you don't see this going on, but and despite the difficulties of COVID, this has been happening and expanding. Also, for example, in the defence field. I'll move on now, though, to more recent events. COP26, the climate summit in Glasgow, has been a really important event this year for us all and for future generations. As you know, I don't need to be a marketing tool for COP26. The really important thing here is that despite the fact that we had an election in September and the inevitable time it took to set up the new government, we had been cooperating for the last year with all relevant Moroccan government departments and institutions, so that even though it was only announced about 2.5 weeks before the start of the summit in Glasgow as to who would represent His Majesty at Glasgow, we had the new head of government, we had the key ministers, we had a really, really powerful program for those who were lucky enough to get to Glasgow and attend the Moroccan pavilion in what they call the blue zone of the conference centre. You would have been amazed to see what Morocco was doing there. Morocco has signed up to international commitments on energy transition, on green maritime transport, on zero emission aviation, on zero emission vehicles, and on the utilization of lands and forests. And we have been working with the Moroccan government and Ministry of Finance on developing green investment criteria into the new Mohammed VI's fund for investment, which will be very key in bringing about Morocco's green economic recovery. So all of this has been going on in very, very short order after the creation of the new government. On the business side, despite the difficulty in travel, we have already seen some major new advances. But just in terms of the bilateral trade, I've got some bad news, Landry, and some good news. The bad news is that the figures for 2020 over 2019 show a 30% fall in trade between our two countries. That is because, inevitably, of the impact of the pandemic, and it is by no means unusual in the international sphere for that to have happened. However, since the start of this year, and despite the ongoing pandemic, trade has already started to take off again in a big way. And for our colleagues, our business colleagues in Morocco, Moroccan exports to the UK have taken off in a way that we all hoped would happen, and are delighted to see has happening. So, for example, in the area which is the largest category of Moroccan exports to the UK, that is fresh fruit and vegetables, we have seen, can you believe it, a 40% increase this year on last year. And in some product categories, that's even higher. Tomatoes and citrus, 80% increase. And this, it appears to me, gives us the evidence to support what I always suspected we would see, which is that once the UK had left the European Union, and although both the UK and Morocco had benefited hugely from the EU-Morocco association agreement and the trade provisions that existed in it, once we were able to step outside of that and look at our relationship just between our two countries and not between one country and 28 countries, we've been able to see how things can change already. There is very, very little, in my view, competition between the UK economy and the Moroccan economy. There is a great deal of complementarity, and that is seen in, for example, the huge increase in tomato and citrus exports. Tomatoes in Morocco ripen at a time of year that they don't ripen in the UK, and we really don't have many orangiers in Northern Europe. So it is a great opportunity for Morocco to identify what its strengths and build those into our relationship. In return, we are seeing already some major increases in UK exports, but we also see much opportunity in other areas where the UK has a special, not just a strength, but a capability to share, for example, in many areas of financial services. And this gets on to the question not only of how British companies could enrich, in this case, the Casablanca Finance City, but also work with Moroccan companies to then develop new markets for their products across Africa. This is all part of Morocco being a hub for access to Africa. This is the starting point, and I'm sorry that we have been held back from really seeing the full effects, but I am very, very confident that we will. Why am I? In the first instance, because we have seen in these small areas that I've mentioned, like in Moroccan exports to the UK of fresh produce, it just shows you the scale of the opportunity and the energy which has been waiting to be released. What's happened this year as well? Well, we have now seen a new British-based company established, which is on the verge of starting a new direct ferry service from Tanger Med to the south of England, to the port of Poole in the south of England. The company is called, as you may know, United Seaways. And this is going to offer a direct, to begin with at least, commercial ferry service to carry lorries and containers between Tanger and Poole. It'll do so in less than 3 days, cutting the time and cutting the complexity of exporting to the UK and from the UK back to Morocco. This service could have happened while the UK was a member of the European Union, but it didn't. Since we've left the European Union already, this has come to life. And United Seaways tell me that they were taken aback. They were surprised by the number of companies that expressed interest in this service straight away. You've already seen the scale of the increase in exports just in this one particular area, and that's before we have this direct service. I can only see this happening more and more. Before I go on to the question of the projects in the coming period, I mean, you asked me whether there are any review or amendments to make of the UK-Morocco Association Agreement after 1 year. The answer is that we are hoping very soon to have the first meeting of our Ministerial Association Council. And although there is plenty of work that's been going on already in order to try to remove the friction, remove any problems that we have, existing problems in our trade between our two countries, that is the moment in which we will be able to start to address these issues in a more systematic way between the two governments, informed by the requests and the information given to us by our companies, both Moroccan and British-based companies. So this is going to be the moment where through us, through my colleagues in our trade team in the British Consulate General in Casablanca, through Andy and her and Madame Setar and her colleagues, through in particular our colleagues in the BritCham, if you don't mind me offering your services, Stephen. This is how we will have the maximum insight into those areas that we can easily fix to make trade between our two countries smoother, easier, and therefore larger. And so the answer is we haven't had to yet make any major changes. We have already raised the tariff quotas in certain products, which is why we have seen this massive increase in Moroccan exports in certain categories. And we will look at that further to find ways in which we can ease the entry into market from companies on both sides. Now, in terms of the projects that we see, I would like to mention one company whose arrival in the market is really, really significant. And that's one of our top 100 companies listed on the London Stock Exchange, a company called Intertek. Now, they are a standards certification company, a global operator, but one that was not present in a significant way in Morocco. Now, as a combination of their efforts and our discussions with the Moroccan government decided, because they have an interest in improving the efficiency and the competitiveness of the Moroccan economy, to bring extra competition into this key sector of assessing the technical standards of both imports and exports. Intertek have arrived. They have committed to investing many millions in creating the capability, the laboratories, and the professional technical services that are needed by exporters and importers, not just to the UK, but to the world over. And already we're feeling the benefits, and the many companies involved in this sector are seeing the advantage of having greater competition. This is all part of the UK's very competitive economic model, and we're delighted to see that Intertek is getting well established here and is making a contribution across many industrial sectors. I have to be careful with my commercial confidentiality, but people will have seen an announcement earlier this week of an investment project which we hope will come into being very soon. A mining project in the Chemiset region. Another British company quoted on the London Stock Exchange called Emerson PLC, and they have a provisional license. We hope this will be confirmed soon, to establish a potash mine, potasse en français, so a natural substance which is a very, very important additive to fertilizer for agriculture, and an important product for helping agriculture across Africa to adapt to the impacts of climate change. So a really, really important, potentially multi-$100 million investment project from a company established in London for the very purposes of developing this mine, and one that has the potential for creating well over 1,000 jobs in this area. Now, talking to Madame Settar about projects like this, you know, we have the ability to work together as two governments who are supporting our companies to operate in each other's markets. And so, for example, a company like this, which has much expertise, but also some considerable equipment that they can bring to a specialist mine like this, we can back this up with what we call UK export finance, with financing to very competitive rates and with very, very flexible terms, to help the companies who are investing in major projects in this country, to fund those investments at very competitive rates, which will help those projects to be both efficient and profitable. And so we are intending to appoint at the very start of next year a full-time executive based in our consulate in Casablanca, whose role will be to help companies who are looking to invest in and buy from the UK to get financing for those investments, which is something that we have never done before. Another example of how we are hoping to really inject extra energy into the relationship now that we have the ability to do so. I would mention also, though, that there are a couple of other companies, British companies, who have signed memoranda of understanding with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce here, who are looking to establish very large-scale manufacturing operations in Morocco, mainly for export, and mainly of products that are linked to renewable energy. So this is another area in which I can see incredible win-win in the collaboration that we are looking at. That it will not only provide jobs and help develop the exports and also develop the technical capability in these particular fields, that we're talking about manufacturing equipment for the generation of renewable energy. I can't mention the names of the companies at the moment, but these are really exciting and also very large-scale products, which will not only help energize the areas in which they are focused in the Moroccan economy, but also help to further develop the image that was so powerfully communicated in Glasgow of Morocco as a modern, green, renewable-focused company that is heading for carbon neutrality. Of course, there is also much talk of a very large project which would connect the UK directly to Morocco for the provision of green electricity. That is something which is still very much under discussion, and of course I would be hugely excited should that take place, but I can't claim to be the one who takes final decisions on this. You did ask, and perhaps if you didn't ask, Landry, I know you were going to ask, whether there is a free trade agreement on the way between the UK and Morocco. The answer to that is perhaps a slightly surprising one to some people, which is there already is a free trade agreement between the UK and Morocco. So the association agreement which the UK and Morocco signed and which came into force in the 1st of January this year contains considerable trade facilitation, basically free trade provisions. No free trade agreement that I'm aware of is absolutely 100% free. It's a slight misnomer. We have very substantial trade preferences that exist between our countries. And as I mentioned, we've already made some changes to that to ensure that the Moroccan exporters are able to benefit from more generous tariff quotas. But the process that I have just described will allow us to look at these trade arrangements. And I know, Madame Seta, you and we will be working together to see how we can make it maybe even modest changes, evolution rather than revolution, to see how we can make it easier and more attractive for our companies to operate in each other's markets. That's a very, very strong shared goal that we have. And I would just finish by reiterating the fact that I have never worked in a country in which there is such complementarity between two economies, so little competition that we need to be, that our companies need to fear competition from each other, and so much interest and determination in doing more. The UK, despite the 30% fall because of COVID, still counts Morocco as its 4th largest trading partner in the whole of Africa. And when you consider the other markets that there are in Africa, larger, more traditional markets for the UK, that is still very, very impressive. But we don't want to stop there. We're going to get higher up that list. There is enormous potential for us to grow the trade and investment flows between our two countries. And we're not only determined to do that from the UK side, but we are in absolute synchronicity with our Moroccan partners to ensure that we are able to act in support of our companies from both countries in order to be able to operate more easily in the other. Thank you.
Donc on entend bien, Monsieur l'ambassadeur, il y a plein de possibilités, d'opportunités, des passerelles, des complémentarités à créer entre les deux États, des modifications, des ajustements peut-être dans l'accord d'association et peut-être bientôt un accord de libre-échange entre le Maroc et le Royaume-Uni?
Oui, comme je l'ai mentionné, on peut considérer, on peut voir l'accord d'association en tant que accord de libre-échange. Il y a beaucoup de provisions là-dedans qui facilitent, qui encouragent, qui donnent les préférences pour l'échange commercial entre les deux pays, qui favorisent l'investissement, qui reconnaissent les standards, les certificats, etc. Et puis, ça existe toujours. Pour nous deux, on n'a pas, pour le moment, le cible de négocier un nouveau accord entier. Parce que ça existe toujours et par l'évolution et pas par la révolution, on va travailler et construire sur ça. Et avec mes amis à Andy et au ministère de l'Industrie et de la Commerce, nous allons identifier les chantiers et les secteurs où c'est possible de changer, de varier, de faire les modifications dans notre encadrement pour faciliter de plus en plus. Mais nous demandons l'information, les préférences, les demandes de nos compagnies, de nos sociétés marocaines et britanniques, de savoir quels changements vont nous aider le plus.
Donc, un accord d'association qui est déjà là, qui peut être modifié au fil des années pour être davantage solidifié et peut-être un jour, à moyen ou long terme, un accord de libre-échange.
Oui, ça c'est tout à fait possible. Mais pour le moment, on n'a pas l'impression que c'est nécessaire parce que nous avons déjà cette base très forte.
Très large. Merci, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur. Vous restez bien sûr avec nous. On va donner la parole tout de suite à Wafa Settar, qui est donc la directrice du pôle stratégie et communication à l'Agence marocaine de développement des investissements et des exportations. Rebonsoir.
Rebonsoir à tout le monde.
Alors, la transition a été faite par Monsieur l'Ambassadeur Simon Martin, qui nous parlait justement d'identifier à l'avenir des secteurs porteurs, des opportunités entre les deux États. On va en parler avec vous. On va voir comment on peut renforcer également le Maroc en tant que hub africain dans cette coopération. Mais d'abord, je crois que vous avez une petite surprise pour nous.
Exactement. Donc, comme vous l'avez sans doute suivi, le Maroc a lancé il y a un mois la nouvelle marque institutionnelle de promotion de l'investissement qui s'appelle Morocco Now. Et donc, j'ai une petite vidéo de 2 minutes que je souhaiterais, si vous le voulez bien, partager avec vous pour montrer à vos auditeurs qui ne connaissent peut-être pas tous les atouts du Maroc en tant que plateforme industrielle de pouvoir visualiser cette vidéo qui prend 2 minutes.
Et on la regarde tout de suite.
Now is the time to ask the right questions. In any endeavor, there's always the ground and the tipping point. Ensuring stability for a high economy takeoff. People's trust towards their leaders and towards their will to uplift their societies. Investing in people to a better life. Giving an opportunity to develop their skills, their goals, and their vision to the world. Building infrastructure to connect within and reach the world. Calling for openness and make sure you have partners to trade with. And then there is the uniqueness. It could be your history. It could be your diversity. It could be how strategically you're located. It could be your culture. It could also be your dedication, or it could be your natural resources. But first and foremost, to reach the heights, you need a vision. Great ambitions. Stay focused and stick to the plan. Build upon the assets. Value the old and embrace the new. keep on growing talents, to face challenges. Always be sure you can fuel the growth and that you have partners to overcome drawbacks together. Now is the time to be ahead. Now is the time for agility and sustainable acts. Now is your time.
So thank you for, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I will follow the path of His Excellency Ambassador Martin and do a bit of my intervention in English. Also to make sure all our participants, those who don't speak French, can follow the discussion. So yeah, we're very glad to have this new national brand of investments and exports to promote what the new platform, industrial platform Morocco offers now. Now, what people say, what does now evokes? It evokes two things. First, the world has changed and needs an agile and decarbonized production platform. And second, Morocco is ready to meet this need, thanks to the whole maturity we have since the past 20 years of transformation. So it's the result of a long-term vision and determination to implement this new model. Okay, so a question that comes here, you can also see our presentation of the Morocco value proposition. So again, as I said, it comes because there is a need in the global market to have a decarbonized production, and of course after COVID, you know that the global value chains need to be reviewed, reorganized to be sharper, shorter, more agile. And I guess for UK, thinking of all businesses in Southeast Asia, for example, we have a lot of businesses or sourcing coming out from India, Bangladesh, that are certainly very important, and we need to keep them strategically for the long cycles of production. But when you need to be closer to the market, to have a time to market that is quicker, Morocco has today an offer on this matter. So thanks to His Majesty the King and the stability visionary decision, Morocco today is without question one of the most stable countries in the world. It's secular, it's very transitions are being very smooth in Morocco. So you can go probably to the next slide, which shows the four major assets. We have four major assets with the Morocco now. The first one is sustainability. I'm not sure if you have seen the latest Climate Change Performance Index 2022. Morocco recorded 5th worldwide after Denmark, Sweden, Norway, UK, then Morocco. So UK is 4th. We are very glad to be the 5th, which is a great performance. So congratulations to the United Kingdom for the 4th position. So
if I could just add there, sometimes it's good that there is a bit of competition. So, une petite concurrence est une bonne chose, but congratulations to Morocco.
Thank you.
Au Royaume-Uni également.
Exactement. So this shows how Morocco is serious about decarbonization and sustainability. Again, COP26 in the UK shows as well that we have today a common ground, Morocco and the United Kingdom, in terms of pushing the agenda for sustainability. So the second asset we believe is important, specifically addressing Africa, is the competitiveness. So this sums up, it's a best cost destination. Today, when you think of the upcoming ZLECAf trade agreement, so ZLECAf, as you know, is the cross-African free trade agreement. Morocco will have access to an extra 1.4 billion consumer. So out of Morocco, you can address these markets. Another major asset here is our track record. Morocco has a track record, successful, we believe, so far, of foreign investment, and so it's and we have a skillful youth, which is really a competitive advantage as well. So finally, how we see the new brand of Morocco, it's really the agility, and we have one business case that was really incredible. It's the launch of Siemens Gamesa factory in 6 months. So we could put in place an industrial plant in 6 months timeline, which is amazing performance. And we have as well 40 Moroccan engineers that were called upon by the partner to start its subsidy in a Nordic country. So we have Moroccan engineers that went and helped getting another plant, another subsidy put in place and set up to start production. So this is, in few words, Morocco now. Now I have to probably switch to French and to answer Benoît's questions. On n'arrive pas à t'entendre, à vous entendre.
Ah, le son est revenu. Veuillez m'excuser. Oui, on a vu donc les différents secteurs et les différents positionnements que le Maroc, eh bien, sur lesquels il mise à travers sa nouvelle marque, sa branding nation. Quels sont les secteurs qui peuvent être renforcés justement, Wafa Settar, vis-à-vis du Royaume-Uni, vis-à-vis du Maroc? Quels sont les secteurs sur lesquels on peut miser à l'avenir entre les deux royaumes?
Alors, je rejoins son Excellence, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur, sur l'énergie verte. L'énergie verte est un secteur clé où nous pouvons contribuer ensemble sur des projets. Le textile, le Maroc a une longue histoire sur le textile et avec des marques anglaises, hein, que je ne veux pas citer pour des raisons commerciales, mais pendant longtemps, le Maroc a collaboré avec plusieurs grandes marques très prisées et très premium en termes de textile. Et donc, nous souhaitons reprendre, redynamiser et monter en valeur sur le textile avec le Royaume-Uni. Là, parce que je parle des secteurs industriels, il y a évidemment toute la partie agricole qui est énorme, mais qui a déjà été mentionnée par son Excellence, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur. Donc, je reprends, donc c'est tout ce qui est énergie verte, le textile et le cuir. Quand donc on parle textile, c'est aussi le cuir. Le Maroc a une base très très importante d'entreprises qui savent travailler le cuir et avec des solutions textiles aussi. Alors, un secteur d'avenir pour le monde entier où le Maroc souhaite se positionner avec une offre intéressante, ce sont les voitures électriques. Donc déjà aujourd'hui, le Maroc est une plateforme automobile importante. Donc vous le savez peut-être, mais la première exportation du Maroc, le premier item, c'est l'industrie automobile. Donc aujourd'hui, nous avons un écosystème mondial en fait qui adresse le monde, qui est très compétitif, mais les voitures électriques, ça reste un challenge important à relever, aussi dans le cadre de tout ce qui est sustainability, qui en français est voilà, j'ai perdu le mot en français.
Je comprends aussi, mais moi aussi,
voilà. Exactement. Le dernier point intéressant, c'est en relation avec les équipements médicaux. Tout ce qui est équipement médical, on pense qu'il y a une vraie piste de collaboration avec le Royaume-Uni. Aujourd'hui, le Maroc a un chantier très ambitieux en termes de sécurité sociale. Et on pense que ceci va beaucoup aider la population à avoir accès à des services de qualité. Et ces services de qualité vont devoir aussi être sur des équipements de normes internationales. Et c'est quelque chose qu'on peut vraiment travailler ensemble avec le Royaume-Uni, non seulement pour le Maroc, mais aussi pour l'Afrique. Donc, je note bien que faire des propositions faites, des usines faites au Maroc pour adresser l'Afrique avec des produits spécifiques, des normes peut-être spécifiques aussi, est une solution intéressante. Voilà pour répondre à votre question sur les secteurs qu'on voit comme priorité. Merci.
Très intéressant. Textile, voiture électrique, équipement médical. J'entends par là des négociations qui vont avoir lieu dans les prochains mois. Mais très, très intéressant. Franchement, on en reparlera un peu plus tard. Madame Wafa Setta, justement, je voudrais qu'on parle un petit peu peut-être bilan de ce Brexit pour l'instant. Alors, c'est vrai que ça fait encore quelques mois, pas tout à fait un an. On y arrive presque cette année. Est-ce que vous avez, vous, au sein de l'AMDI, des premiers chiffres, des premières statistiques sur l'impact du Brexit?
Oui, alors depuis le 1er janvier 2021 de cette année, nous nous réjouissons que le Maroc et le Royaume-Uni appliquent l'accord d'association régissant les échanges commerciaux après le Brexit. Donc cet accord a été signé le 26 octobre 2019 et il restitue l'ensemble des effets que nos deux nations s'accordent mutuellement dans le cadre de l'accord d'association qui était déjà prévu avant, Maroc-UE. Donc, ce nouveau pacte de partenariat ouvre de vastes possibilités pour des implémentations industrielles britanniques au Maroc dans divers secteurs. En termes d'échange, donc là, j'ai les sources de l'Office d'échange. Depuis janvier de cette année, le commerce total des biens et des services s'élève à 7 milliards et demi de dirhams. Donc, les exportations se sont élevées à 4,3 milliards, essentiellement des produits électriques et produits frais et textiles, tandis que les importations du Maroc à partir du Royaume-Uni sont composées de voitures, gaz et produits pharmaceutiques. Évidemment, nous pensons que c'est dans un contexte particulier, c'est encore très compliqué de reprendre la vie comme avant le Covid. Donc, en termes d'échange, c'est un impact. Donc, c'est clair que malheureusement, on a eu et le Brexit et le Covid en même temps. Mais bon, donc on espère que le Covid…
Malheureusement et heureusement, c'est vrai que les deux, malheureusement, ont des impacts négatifs et ont aussi des impacts positifs en matière de transformation.
Ah non, on a eu heureusement le Brexit, mais malheureusement le Covid.
Voilà. Donc, du coup,
ça veut dire en fait, pour nous, ces flux sont en deçà du potentiel. Le potentiel est énorme. Et nous pensons que ces chiffres peuvent facilement être multipliés par deux, sur l'année prochaine.
Le Royaume-Uni dans le top 5 des pays dans les radars du Maroc pour les prochaines années, selon vous, Madame Wafaseta?
Absolument. Justement, c'est une décision qui a été prise depuis le Brexit et depuis on va dire toute cette depuis qu'on travaille avec justement Monsieur l'ambassadeur aussi. Et on voit les potentialités. Nous regardons aussi les prévisions d'échange et le Royaume-Uni est définitivement fait partie des priorités de l'ANDE, de l'Agence nationale de promotion des investissements et des exportations, pour faire fructifier les échanges dans les deux sens. Donc, c'est quelque chose, nous espérons avoir des choses plus concrètes à vous présenter, sûrement le premier semestre 2022.
Merci Madame Wafaseta, directrice du pôle stratégie et communication au sein de l'ANDE. Vous restez bien sûr avec nous. Dans quelques instants, la séance des questions-réponses. Il y a beaucoup de questions qui sont posées sur le fil de ce webinaire. Mais tout de suite, notre autre invité de marque que j'ai le plaisir d'accueillir ce soir, c'est Son Altesse le délégué commercial pour Sa Majesté britannique pour l'Afrique, Alistair Long. Good evening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Tout va bien, merci. Bonsoir, bienvenue encore pour ce webinaire de la Chambre britannique. Alors, on a beaucoup de questions à vous poser. Je vais peut-être commencer par la question la plus simple. Comment le départ du Royaume-Uni pour l'Union européenne a-t-il modifié vos priorités et vos objectifs en matière de commerce et d'investissement?
Hi Al, at last you are with us, so it's great to have you here.
Thank you, and thanks for the welcome just then. And colleagues, I hope you don't mind if I speak English.
Yeah, of course. We will speak in English from the beginning. Don't worry.
Super. I mean, I can speak a bit of French, but you don't want to trust me. But my regards to His Excellency, who is a terrific support to our work. I'm really excited to be able to join you. I'm in London, actually. I'm normally in Cairo, but I'm in London for the Africa Energy Forum, which is taking place here at the moment and is looking keenly at how we make a reality of some of the decisions that have come out of COP26, which of course has been a really big focus for the UK for the last period. But anyway, you asked me about our commercial activities, so can I say a word about those?
Yeah, so just to rephrase the question, so how has the UK departure from the EU changed your trade and investment priorities and objectives?
Yes, and thank you very much. And I imagine I may repeat a little bit of what the ambassador has already said here. But first of all, perhaps just explain who I am. So I'm the UK's Trade Commissioner. I'm based in Cairo, as I say, but I cover the whole continent. And across the continent, we have a team of about 130 individuals dedicated to trade and investment between Africa and the UK. And I lead that team, but that team works extremely closely with a much larger team of our ambassadors and their staff in our embassies and high commissions across Africa. And so actually we're one team, and a much bigger team than just those immediately focused on trade investment. We're in 21 markets specifically working on trade and investment. We order those markets into priorities, and in the top bracket, the top priority markets, you of course find Morocco, a very, very important market for us. Our work is really looking at trying to create partnerships on trade where we can grow together our bilateral trade, and where the UK really thinks hard about what our partners in Africa are trying to achieve, and then brings UK commercial solutions in response, so that we're hopefully trying to help you with your ambitions to grow, but at the same time supporting the UK economy. And so a really big part of our work is actually investment, trying to get UK investment into Africa, into markets like Morocco, where we can grow a commercial presence on the ground in Morocco with you. We also then work on trade policy, which is about trying to improve the mechanisms through which we trade together. And of course, we have our new trade agreement, which is very exciting. And we also work on trade promotion, which is about trying to enable the transactions on trade between our companies, your company, our government, your government. You asked about Brexit. Now, Brexit, I think, means two things in particular for our trade. But first, it has meant that we have become an independent trading nation, masters of our own trade policy. But the two things it really means, the first is the most important really, is that we have become even more outward facing. So there was a suspicion around Brexit that the UK would turn inwards and would start to focus on its own concerns. But actually, it's really a project, the very opposite aim, for us to reach out and revitalize our partnerships around the world, and nowhere more so than on trade. So it's meant a real boost for our efforts to try and grow our trade relationships with important markets like Morocco. The second thing is that as we do that, we are then, as I say, the masters of our own trade policy. So we are no longer a part of trade agreements that the EU has with important partners around the world. We are able to create our own trade arrangements. And with a very good number of countries, that is now framed in a trade agreement, but with lots of others, that also means a change in the relationship. It means an enhanced trade dialogue and relationship through which we can explore what we both want to achieve together. And I have to say, it's really exciting to be in that new process now and to be having those conversations. And as we put together our association agreement with Morocco, those were really exciting conversations. They felt new, even while we have talked to Morocco for many years about these things. They felt new, they felt exciting, and it felt like we had a new opportunity together to grow and to do exciting new things. And we want to maintain that spirit as we go into the first meetings of our association committee and council. But of course, the backdrop to all of this is we've just had two incredibly difficult years dealing with coronavirus. And one of the things that has made our job of being outward facing, of trying to revitalize these global partnerships all the more difficult is the travel and logistical implications of coronavirus. It's not been possible to fly from London to Rabat or Casablanca and do business with you in the way that we want to, which is face to face, over a coffee, talking human to human about our needs and interests. It's not been possible. And we want to get back to that as soon as we can. But also logistics. One of the things we've really suffered through this pandemic on the trade front is the breakdown of our supply chains and commercial relationships when it comes to getting goods into the UK and exporting our own goods. And you know what? It's really highlighted to us then the importance of our near markets. And I count Morocco as one of those. It's only 2 hours by aeroplane from London. And it reminds us that actually we need to have reliable trading partners close to home. And so that really is framing, I hope you agree, Ambassador, that's really framing our relationship with Morocco now. Morocco has become even more important in the eyes of my colleagues in London than it was before, perhaps because of dreadful pandemic that we've experienced. One other is, I think, of real interest to me in my capacity, looking at the whole of Africa, is how we can work together in Africa. And I know Morocco has had long-standing commercial ties with the rest of the continent. And you've got contemporary commercial ties as well with the port of Tangier as a major logistics hub for the entire west coast of Africa and beyond. Your companies are looking at opportunities across Africa. Your companies already have major opportunities that they're pursuing in Africa. And this is of real interest to us because we too have, of course, long-standing historical ties to the continent and lots of important trade relationships that we can partner perhaps with you on. And I just want to touch on the sectors that I think are really important at the moment for Africa as a whole, and then perhaps, if I may, just relate those back to Morocco. So there are two really significant gaps in Africa that we need to address as humanity. One is the energy access gap, where 600 million plus Africans still do not have access to power, to electricity. The second is the huge infrastructural deficit across Africa, where basic infrastructure is lacking for many millions. And then there's also gaps on human capital, where, albeit Africa, I think, is a continent full of talent and ideas and creativity, actually many individuals lack an investment in their education to help them realize their dreams and their ideas. And also there's a lack, as we've seen during the pandemic, very sadly, of healthcare infrastructure to support human development. There are some really exciting sectors as well where we're going to see rapid transformation. So agriculture being one, and Morocco, of course, is a leader for Africa in that sector. Mining, another, again, strong for Morocco. And for the UK, a really important one is financial and professional services. There's scarcely anything we do commercially that doesn't have the UK's financial and professional services wrapper, using our world-leading banks, law firms, insurance companies, etc. And one really exciting aspect of that, which we've been working with Morocco on, is fintech, where increasingly it's not about your high street bank, as we would call it in the UK. It's about the power in the palm of your hand, the apps that you can access that give you immediate financial inclusion. So I said I'd then bring this back to Morocco, because I think one of the challenges we face in our trade relationship with Morocco is that Morocco is strong in all of the sectors and is offering opportunities for investment and partnership in all of those sectors. And so Simon and I tear our hair out thinking, how do we manage to cover all of this opportunity with just a small trade team? And I think the answer is we do it with your help, don't we? Because while we have grown and we've invested in our team in Morocco, and I'm really pleased we have, it was long overdue, so that we've got some excellent colleagues, and the team is now at least twice the size that it was. We could be 100, 200, and still we wouldn't be able to address all the breadth of opportunity there is. And so for that, we really do need to partner with you. We have various tools that we want to bring to bear. So we have very, very soon now to have a new UK export finance officer in our trade team in Morocco. And we're really, because finance is always an enabler of getting trade working and projects off the ground. We're also trying to support the Morocco team with regional expertise in the particular sectors. But I will end on a sobering note, which is just to say that while the Morocco market is a real priority for us and we see huge potential, I think we would also say that we're not where we should be. You know, we think we can do much, much better. So Morocco is already the UK's 4th largest trading partner in Africa. But I think that the trade is probably only about half of what it should be, and that we should be working to really together push up the trade figures dramatically in this period of recovery after the pandemic. And so that's our ambition. And we want to do it, as I say, through real partnership with you. And so thank you for this opportunity today to set that out and to express what a priority Morocco is for us. And back to you.
Merci beaucoup. Well, thank you. Alastair Long, merci beaucoup. Vous restez avec nous, bien sûr, pour les questions. Peut-être une réaction, Simon Martin, monsieur l'ambassadeur, aux différentes articulations qui ont été faites par Alastair Long.
Mes remerciements à Alastair. Hi Alastair, bonsoir. Thank you for joining us from London. It sounds as though the traffic in London is every bit as noisy as it is here in Rabat or there in Casablanca. So, but great, thank you for joining us. The fact that it is the Africa Energy Forum is it follows very closely what I was saying in my little intervention earlier on about the way in which after Morocco's really positive and energizing presence at COP26, the potential we have working together in this area, not only in Morocco but with Morocco, to help transform the energy sector across Africa. So merci Landry. Je ne sais pas si je parle en anglais ou en français, mais je voudrais seulement ajouter que c'était pas fixe, c'était pas un fixe en avance que Alistair et Madame Wafa ont la même ambition de duplier le taux de notre commerce dans les prochaines années. Et je suis certain que ça c'est possible, mais il n'y a pas de limite de nos ambitions. Et comme a mentionné Ao, nous avons des avantages partagés. De plus en plus, la langue anglaise et la juridiction internationale c'est favorisé par les entreprises marocaines et internationales. J'ai oublié de mentionner ce qui se passe dans le secteur de l'enseignement ici. On a dans les dernières années ouvert 4 écoles britanniques scolaires, écoles et lycées. On attend d'autres. Il y a quelques autres qui sont en train d'être reconnus. Et même plus important, Inch'Allah, croisons les doigts, il y aura dans les prochains mois le premier campus de l'université britannique ici au Maroc. Et ça va multiplier les liens entre nos pays.
C'est intéressant. Il y avait une question dans ce sens-là, justement. Il y avait une question sur est-ce que la langue, ça peut être un frein ou une opportunité pour le milieu des affaires? Vous y répondez, monsieur l'ambassadeur.
Je ne vous ai pas bien entendu, André. Encore une fois, s'il vous plaît.
Non, je disais c'est intéressant parce qu'il y avait une question sur ce volet-là, une question sur la langue. Est-ce que la langue, ça peut être un frein ou une opportunité pour faire davantage d'affaires? Donc, vous y répondez en partie.
La langue, c'est une fait. C'est le changement. On a eu un sondage des jeunes Marocains il y a quelques mois et 2 tiers de cette groupe de jeunes Marocains et Marocaines ont prononcé, ont envisagé dans les 5 prochaines années, l'anglais va surpasser le français en tant que la langue la plus importante des affaires, peut-être pas chez eux, pas personnellement. Et donc, il y a un changement qui se passe. Et ça c'est l'opportunité pour le Maroc d'internationaliser de plus en plus et pour les entreprises marocaines d'opérer d'une manière de plus en plus avec de plus en plus confiance dans les marchés Commonwealth, les marchés anglophones et un partenariat avec nos entreprises ici, pas seulement pour les marchés francophones, mais nous pouvons introduire les entreprises marocaines sur les marchés anglophones du Commonwealth en Afrique aussi.
Bien entendu. Alors, j'ai peut-être une question encore facétaire à poser à Alastair Lang, qui nous a fait le plaisir d'être avec nous. Une question sur comment, justement, au sein de Londres, vous regardez de près eh bien, ce focus du Maroc comme hub africain.
So Al, one question for you. What are the strengths of the UK-Morocco business relationship, and how does the UK view Morocco as a gateway for Africa?
Thank you. Yes. So, well, I think you said it yourself there, that actually we do view Morocco as a gateway for Africa. There are a whole variety of ways that we might approach this. So first of all, I think we look at what Morocco already has and is offering, which is an incredible investment footprint and investment opportunity for nearshoring, for providing combined operations. We've had some really successful examples of UK companies who put an investment presence in Morocco while keeping part of their operation in the UK, and they now share the company across those two platforms. And then with our trade agreement as well, we have a terrific first stage to be together in Morocco, to be creating joint ventures, investment partnerships and other things in Morocco, but then able to take that into parts of Africa that could really use that help, actually. And so I do think it starts in large part with what's taking place already in Morocco. And one of the things I do want to do is encourage more of our companies to see Morocco as an investment destination, particularly some of our companies who've previously invested. I think one of you was mentioning earlier companies that have been in Bangladesh and in the Far East, and those companies should now be looking very seriously, I think, at North Africa again. How does London view Morocco as an opportunity to go further into Africa? I think the perception of Morocco in London is of a very developed market, let's be honest, and therefore Morocco looks rather different to the vast majority of the rest of Africa. And so we do see Morocco as a reliable partner with whom to forge commercial ventures that we can take elsewhere in an easier way than we sometimes find in other parts of Africa. I hope it's okay to say that. I think it's okay to say that to you. But you know, if we're looking for international partners, we're looking for people who are like-minded. We're looking for people who understand the commercial imperatives of what we're trying to do, and we're looking for people who want to be in something for the long term sustainably. You don't always find that elsewhere, but we're confident we will find that in Morocco. And Africa needs those understandings, because it is not an easy place to make a quick and safe investment. You need to be with a partner that understands you. Let's cover some basics as well. Morocco knows Francophone Africa terrifically well. The UK knows the Commonwealth terrifically well, and so there's a natural complementarity there. We have historic, deep relationships across particularly East and Southern Africa, but also with some big Western African countries. You likewise have deep historic relationships, and so I think we can help each other into markets that may to date be unfamiliar. And then I think there are some really nice synergies in the sectors as well. So what Morocco is doing on energy, particularly renewable energy, is really exciting. The UK is now the largest renewable investor in South Africa, for example. We have an extremely strong wind and solar, waste to energy and hydro offer. And so we can partner there. And also on mining, I think, you know, the UK has, and London has been a centre of mining for many decades. And we have some enormous UK mining companies. You likewise have, of course, in the phosphate sector and other sectors, enormous mining interests as well. So there's a natural affinity there. And I'm really excited as well to develop our conversation on financial services. But for this meeting I'm at in London, I should have been talking to the Casablanca Financial Centre this morning. But I will do that soon, and with Simon's full encouragement, I know. And that is all about trying to see if we can develop some financial partnerships as well. And again, on those, perspectives, I think we're quite complementary, because Morocco really understands French and Moroccan financing structures and law. We, of course, understand English common law financing structures. So again, there's a opportunity for real synergy there.
Wafa Settar, peut-être une réaction au propos de Alistair Long?
Justement, je n'ai pas eu je voulais remercier Monsieur. I will do it in English, just to make sure His Excellency Mr. Alistair Long, his Britannic Majesty Trade Commissioner for Africa, for his kind words to Morocco. It's really, I mean, extremely pleasant to hear that we are aligned in so many areas. We are aligned on doubling the volume of transaction. We are aligned on sustainability, and we are aligned on helping together for the growth of African people. More than trade, it's really doing good project for African people. So this is extremely pleasant, and I would like to thank you for your intervention, and hope to host you in Morocco in the very near future. One word regarding the English language. It's definitely something happening today when we see what a big audience we had with Morocco Now. You know that Morocco Now branding campaign was exclusively in English. So we took this decision to communicate only in English language. And it made a massive impact on people in Morocco. And they all said, thank you. We really want to hear English more often. So I agree with His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Martin on this. People are eager to start dealing with international companies, with like even having international connections in English, and the business language is English. So just I wanted to reiterate that Morocco Now is exclusive in English. Just this I wanted to say when Mr. Ambassador was talking about of English language. Nearshoring and being closer to the market, indeed, this is something we believe Morocco can offer a solution for UK companies, and again, we're happy to continue those kind of discussions.
Alors, Madame Wafa Settar, je vous remercie, mais vous avez raté l'essentiel. Monsieur l'ambassadeur vous a montré quelque chose.
Morocco Now, c'est
Oui,
ça.
oui.
Il nous a montré son badge. Ah oui,
Ouais.
de visite. Ah non, c'est une carte ISB. Ah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Mais,
À la page.
mais je ne savais pas que c'était seulement en anglais. Je pensais que c'était pour moi quelque chose de spécial. Mais Maroc maintenant, ça sera trop long.
Ça sonne moins bien. Ça sonne moins
okay.
bien.
Alors,
No, thank you. It's you know, this is not. I should really make this point very clearly. Actually, the UK is not in the, you know, and my embassy is not in the interest of, is not interested in any kind of language competition, any kind of language campaign. We are simply and very happily responding to what is clearly a change in mindset. And it is not in any way a replacement of any other language that we're talking about. It is a sign of Morocco's openness and keenness to internationalize, but also to take advantage of all the potential partnerships that are there. That the Moroccan government, through His Majesty the King, in his wisdom, see this as a major way to create more advantage, not just for companies, but actually for young people right across Morocco. We're going to see more and more young businesses being set up. The new government and the new development model is very keen to develop a more entrepreneurial culture. And it's interesting, Al, when you referred to fintech, we see, I can't remember what the average age of leaders of fintech companies is, but it's definitely under 30. These are companies of the future, and whether we like it or not, they're built on the English language, because English is the language of the internet as well as of international business. And so I do think that this is really inspired. Of course, it's easier for those of us who struggle with French, but it is a really inspired approach by the Moroccan government, and it's been fully taken up by Moroccan business, it seems to me. And so congratulations, Wafa, for the anglicization of Morocco now.
Alors, on a beaucoup de questions. On va peut-être les prendre une par une. Alors, il y avait une question sur la langue. Vous avez en partie répondu tous les trois. D'ailleurs, je vous remercie. Il y avait une question que je trouvais intéressante et que je voulais poser à vous, monsieur l'ambassadeur Samuel Martin, et puis peut-être faire réagir également à l'instant langue. C'est une question de Omar qui nous dit, finalement, quelles sont les premières retombées positives du Brexit sur les relations économiques avec le Maroc? Qu'est-ce que vous tirez de positif, tout simplement, de ce Brexit depuis qu'il a débuté, vous, monsieur l'ambassadeur, qui êtes ici en position au Maroc?
Oui, je pense que j'ai mentionné toujours qu'il paraît d'avoir rendu le pas plus léger dans notre relation. Et la raison pour laquelle je dis ça, c'est que un très grand nombre de contacts de Marocains et Marocaines avec qui j'ai parlé pendant la dernière année ont identifié le Brexit comme pas seulement une opportunité, mais le commencement de nouvelle époque dans notre relation. Parce que le Royaume-Uni était toujours un partenaire important en tant que membre de l'Union européenne, mais c'est un fait simple que quand nous étions seulement l'une des 28 États membres, c'est plus difficile pour les Marocains et les entreprises marocaines de différencier entre tous ces pays. Et puisqu'on n'est pas si familier avec, aussi familier avec le Royaume-Uni qu'avec la France et l'Espagne surtout. Donc, peut-être nous étions un peu anonymes. Maintenant, il y a une grande reconnaissance de notre nouvel status, as Al said, our new status as an independent trading nation. It sounds like a political slogan. It's not. It is actually a genuine reflection of the fact that we now operate differently in a global sense. And it feels to me, and that's why I wanted to say this in English as well as in French, it seems to me that Morocco, not just the Moroccan government, not just Moroccan business, but our friends at CGEM are very positive about this, but also just Moroccan people in general, from students to the elderly, have said to me that this is something different, and we want to be part of that. We will always value and maintain our close relationships with the remaining countries of the European Union, and particularly our closest trading partners. Of course, that will always be the case. The UK is further away, and our recent historical links are not so strong. But this is the opportunity to do something different. And the UK is the only country in Europe, the only European country of the size and the economic importance that we have, which is outside the European Union. And it is extraordinary to me how quickly so many Moroccans recognize the potential value to Morocco of that. And as I'm sure Ald says in many of his speeches, for us, it does not matter whether Brexit was our choice or not. It is now our future, and there is so much to be done and to be celebrated between Morocco and the UK now as a result.
Simon, could I add one point, which is there's a really interesting thing that's happened in our relationship with the EU. So many British companies, as you would imagine, have been trading with the EU for the whole time that we were members, and they will continue trading with the EU, but now they have to do so as genuine exporters. So rather than trading within a single common market, they have to actually get all the paperwork and all the other processes in line so that they can trade with the EU as genuine exporters. Now, what that does is that creates an enormous pool of people who thought they were exporters but weren't really before, becoming genuine exporters. That matters to places like Morocco, because now you have people, you have this huge swathe of British companies who are genuine exporters and therefore will know what it means to export to markets like Morocco too. And I think that they will look to the next easiest markets, if you like, the markets that are as familiar as the EU markets, as their next destination. So that presents a real opportunity for Morocco to embrace these companies who did trade with the EU and are now proper exporters. I hope that makes sense. It's a sort of niche point, but it's rather an interesting and important one.
Alors, on avait d'autres questions également. Une question de Anna qui nous disait quels sont les prochains projets à venir dans la coopération Maroc-Royaume-Uni, peut-être pour les 3 prochaines années. Est-ce qu'il y a déjà des projets intéressants qui peuvent voir le jour, monsieur l'ambassadeur ou Wafa Settar?
Oui, oui, bien sûr, Landry. Je pense que j'ai initié sur ce sujet dans mon intervention il y a quelques minutes. On prévoit de grands investissements dans le secteur de l'énergie renouvelable. Il y a beaucoup de spéculation en ce qui concerne le projet soi-disant X-Links et on va voir, mais ça, si ça se passe, ça va être quelque chose de nouveau.
C'est magique.
D'une perspective globale. Mais il y a pas mal d'autres projets qui sont toujours près du point de départ. Et on a conclu les accords avec le ministère de l'Industrie pour préparer l'établissement de grandes entreprises britanniques, mais ici au Maroc, pour fabriquer et pour exporter aux États-Unis, en Europe, en Afrique, les produits qui vont contribuer à la transition énergétique. Et ça, c'est quelque chose de très positif. Comme a mentionné Al, la question de développement et surtout le développement africain, c'est très important. Et le Maroc, c'est un très bon port, point de départ, une plateforme de départ pour l'Afrique. Et pour cette raison, elle a mentionné l'infrastructure. Nous avons maintenant ici à Casa le représentant de notre institution de finance développement pour le développement qui cible d'attirer le financement privé dans les projets de l'infrastructure en Afrique à travers Casablanca. Nous avons notre très grand investisseur pour le développement, le CDC, et actionnaire dans une des plus grandes banques marocaines avec une perspective africaine. Et il y a beaucoup d'intérêt de leur parti d'investir dans d'autres projets marocains qui sont ciblés au développement africain, par exemple en ce qui concerne la fabrication des vaccins. Donc, je prévois des grands projets dans ces secteurs, mais il y a beaucoup d'autres possibilités aussi, secteur par secteur, et main à main avec Andy.
Une question de Nourdine, monsieur l'ambassadeur, sur le Sahara. Alors, il y a beaucoup de questions, mais qui se pose la question suivante. Est-ce qu'on peut voir bientôt des investissements assez importants dans le futur au Sahara?
Oui, je suis là. Oui, oui, les investissements dans le pays entier sont importants et ils sont en train. Et nous encourageons l'investissement et l'activité économique en tout cas, et aussi on encourage l'investissement des entreprises marocaines en Écosse, au Pays de Galles, en Irlande du Nord aussi. C'est tout à fait la même chose. Et je suis certain que cette augmentation de notre commerce bilatéral va contribuer au développement pour les deux pays. Et c'est pas seulement une question du développement marocain. Nous avons chez nous un très grand défi. Il s'appelle en anglais the leveling up agenda. Ça veut dire de focaliser les projets de développement dans les parties du Royaume-Uni qui sont moins développées, et surtout au nord de l'Angleterre, en Écosse, etc. Et ça, c'est une des raisons les plus importantes que nous commençons, nous entretenons ce projet peut-être de duplier nos échanges, etc., mais aussi d'encourager l'investissement responsable et vert dans les deux pays.
Stephen Orr, le président de la Chambre britannique, il nous a écoutés bien méticuleusement. Est-ce que vous voulez réagir? Alors, tout à l'heure, Madame Wafa-Setter nous parlait du véhicule électrique qu'elle veut davantage de coopération dans l'industrie aéronautique, par exemple, entre le Maroc et le Royaume-Uni?
Je veux commencer avec un petit, je veux corriger quelque chose, s'il te plaît. Et je vais corriger en français parce que quand j'ai fait toute ma vie dans l'industrie, d'accord? Et quand j'ai reçu les cibles de mes boss, ils ont dit premièrement, la première cible, c'est pour atteindre le niveau 1. On avait déjà atteindre le niveau 1, 1 milliard d'échanges entre les deux pays. La prochaine, c'était 2, c'est toujours 2. On est là maintenant, mais la prochaine n'est pas 4. On a parlé de doubler à 4, mais non, normalement, c'est 5. Soit on a besoin de penser sur 5, après 5, tu as 10, après 10, tu as 20, après 20, tu as 50, après 50, tu as 100. C'est comme ça. So, je préfère parler la la prochaine cible, ça va être 5 milliards, pas 4. Mais ça, c'est juste un truc de mathématiques, mais je pense que c'est très, très possible. For me, it's a complete pleasure to sit with professionals, and I mean professionals like Simon, like Alistair, like Madame Wafa. And I count myself as an amateur. I kind of like sit on the chamber and we do what we can, but these people are completely invested into this and understand it completely well. I think since January 2021 Brexit, the corona obviously had an impact. However, in certain sectors, like agriculture, like we talked about, agro-foods have particularly forged ahead very quickly, irrespective of corona. And we can see that in terms of the trade. Simon mentioned the new logistics route from United Seaways. I think one point of interest, it was completely full from Morocco to United Kingdom very quickly, but not so full coming back, United Kingdom back to Morocco. So obviously there's work to do. And that can only also be good for Morocco, okay? So the more we can get back from United Kingdom into Morocco, the more investment we can get, the more likelihood there is for Morocco to grow its exports and the United Kingdom to grow its exports. So it's a big win-win, okay? But to be fair, the guys in United Seaways are already looking at the second route. So it's extremely popular, extremely fast. So there's a huge, I think a huge pent-up demand between Morocco and the United Kingdom for this level of trade. I think in textiles, I can tell you, I talked to some friends who work in the textile industry in Morocco. Has fallen. Everything in Europe that has fallen has been picked up by an increase in demand from the UK. So their 2021 year looks as good as 2020, which also looks as good as 2019 with respect to textiles and the trade with the United Kingdom. So they're extremely positive in terms of the outlook. But I think, again, there's a lot more to do in terms of technology and exchange in terms of the textile market. It's not just for Morocco to make t-shirts to send to United Kingdom. There's a lot more we can do together to bring more investment into the textile industry and to explore more markets together. I think for manufacturing, which is more of my expertise, I think automotive is obviously huge in Morocco, and Morocco has proved itself. When I talk about Morocco proving itself, I never talk about aerospace, I talk about automotive, because that is the #1 example where it has shown it can take on a market and take on a technology and actually compete and prove that it is a very competent country for producing in what is a very, very competitive market. And I think that stands out. I think for aerospace, we can see aerospace is really starting to pick up. Airbus is talking very strongly about increased rates to 70 A320s a month, which is a level that they have never seen before, not before Corona. So always with aerospace, it ends up after the crisis coming out stronger than before, demanding more than before. And we've also seen, like we see in other industries, a huge desire to shorten the supply chain. So aerospace, and if you look at the European aerospace market where Airbus sits, and there's obviously a huge aerospace industry in the UK, the desire is to shorten the supply chain. So that offers huge potential for Morocco. It has an existing base for aerospace companies, as we know. So therefore, the drive to reduce supply chain, reduce cost, and increase reliability and quality of delivery, then Morocco is sitting extremely well poised to take advantage for that as well. I think there's renewable energy we talked about with COP26 or COP26 has shown, but also in the area of pharmaceutical, area of education, area of finance, and the list goes on. As Simon said at the start, the complementary positioning of Morocco and the UK is extremely strong. and something that we need to continue to build on. I think if we look at it, we need to work on the ease of doing business. You talked about language, French, English. It's not French and English. It's not the association agreement, which Simon said is pretty much a free trade agreement. There's nothing in that agreement which will stop people doing business or will cause them concern, and it will only get better for sure. So we need to look at the ease of doing business, the different systems that people are used to, some very bureaucratic, some very easygoing. Alistair talked about the credit export agency expert that will be coming to work in the consulate, which will be great. We need to work at creating financial products, and I have some experience of that. Financial products that are ease of access, because we can talk about, we have credit agency, we have the banks, we have investment potential, but if it takes 2 years to unlock that, then it becomes extremely difficult. So we need to create ready-made, ready-packaged financial products that can be made available both to the Moroccan investors and the UK investors as well. And finally, and I do work closely with Andy, and I love the Morocco Now, the whole marketing of it. It's very modern, it's very catchy, and it's very true, okay? And sometimes you see different countries put stuff out and it's not necessarily true, but this is very true. And I think that's very important. But we need to do more trade missions to the UK. We need to get Morocco to the UK, and we need to get the UK to Morocco. And okay, we can say Corona this, Corona that, la la la. Okay, that's true. But now that it's coming to, I'll not say to an end, but coming to a different phase, we need to look to see, okay, what are the key things we want to do? And what are the missions, and who do we need to take where to meet people, to sit face to face, to talk? I mean, I look at this webinar and we're all pushing in the same direction. So we have to get out there and get feet on the ground and sell Morocco in the UK and sell UK in Morocco as well. And I think that'll be key for the next 12 to 24 months as to how we bring those people together to make the exchange. Because when you get the right professionals in the room, you will have a million ideas and something will happen. So that's what we need to also focus on. But I really love this webinar. I like the people that are on the webinar. I like the whole thing. I mean, from the British Chamber point of view, this is why we're here. We're here to help people do business and create the exchange between the UK and Morocco.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président de la Bretcham, Stéphane Or. Merci, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur Samuel Martin. À très bientôt. Merci beaucoup, Wafa Setar, directrice du pôle stratégie et communication de l'AMDE, l'agence marocaine.
Et un petit mot pour vous remercier, peut-être, Monsieur Landry-Benoît, pour la modération, et aussi pour remercier la Bretcham pour cette initiative. Et je tiens à remercier Mr. Stephen Orr. C'est la première fois que je participe à ce type de webinaire et j'ai beaucoup apprécié. Donc, merci encore pour l'invitation.
Merci à vous.
Encore. Merci Landry, merci Steve.
Merci à tout le monde.
Merci, au revoir.
Bonne soirée, à très bientôt.
Bonne soirée. Merci.